Foundation? What's up, Foundation? What's up, Foundation? Man, it's me, your big partner, Tony. Man, God been working on me, man, since I was born. And don't forget, man. I represent Jesus Christ.
What's up, Foundation? What's up, YouTube? Man, it's me, your big partner, Tony. Man, I'm back again. Yeah, we gonna jump right into this one. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that comment button for me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know y'all gotta help your big partner out. But anyway, back into this prison thing. When I first got to Alabama prison system, one of the questions that I used to always get asked was, is it okay for a white dude to be a crip or a blood? Now, they didn't ask me about the blood, but I'm just going to add them both in because it was homies that was asking me this. So it was like, is it all right? Is it all right for a white dude to be a crip? And the reason why they was asking that, because you got to understand now, you know, Alabama's a southern state, black and white state. You know, wasn't no Hispanics and all that like that for real when I first got here. They here now, but when I first got out here almost 30 years ago, it wasn't like that, you know. So I would always tell them, when it come down to this crip thing, it ain't a black or white thing, it's a blue thing. You know what I'm saying? And I would tell them, man, I got homies that's crips that are white. And at first they couldn't believe it because now it was a couple of dudes on the yard, white dudes on the yard. They was Crips. And some dudes was telling them that they couldn't be this, couldn't be that, because they was white. And like some of these white boys was nail heads. They're like, man, I came in here cripping, I'm gonna crip while I'm in here. And that's just that. So then when I hit the scene, I'm like, yeah, man, in LA, in Cali, you know, yeah, we got white dudes that's Crips, and we got Mexicans that's Crips, you know what I'm saying? And we got Asians. This gang thing, this cripping in blood, it's a blue and red thing. It ain't the other color spectrum thing, you know. And so they was like, oh, you know. But anyway, I would also like explain to them about the racial differences in California prison. And I tell y'all all the time, man, a lot of people, they hear Alabama, they hear Mississippi, New Orleans, or whatever. And they hear the South and they think that's real. That's racial. You know what I'm saying? They were hanging this and doing that and blah, 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 blah. California is one of the most racialist states you will ever go to in your entire life. I'm talking about now, y'all be talking about standing on business, standing 10 toes. In California, the racial disparity is standing on business. When you go in the prison system, whatever you are is what you are. You know what I'm saying? But now, do you have Mexicans come in that's Crips and Bloods? Yeah. Do you have whites that come in that's Crips and Bloods? Yeah. But like I told y'all, especially during my time in the California CDC system, back in them 80s, it was going to be a riot. And I told y'all that in past videos. It was going to kick off. It was going to kick. You knew when, say like you had a homie that hit the tier, and he was Mexican or he was white, but he was a Crip or Blood, you knew he on Fish Row. He ain't even hit the yard yet. Go ahead and start getting your stuff ready. Go ahead and start getting it ready, man. You know, for a prolonged, protracted lockdown and a prolonged, protracted war, because it's gonna go down. If he's white, the whites ain't having it. If he's Mexican, the Mexicans not having it. Us being, you know, blacks being whatever perspective group they were, they wasn't gonna have it neither. They wasn't gonna have those other people pushing up on they homie. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look. Here's a dude coming in just because he's Mexican or white. He grew up with these other dudes in here. and they homies in there from whatever perspective turf they from, they gonna ride with them, and whatever group that is gonna ride with them. So you know it's gonna go down. It's gonna go down. I would tell y'all that, but now, so here it is. I seen where you had a ex-correctional officer from the California system. He was on a brother by the name of Cam Capone. He was on his channel, and he was speaking on what it's like in the California system when a dude come in from another race and he trying to be a Crip or Blood. Now he's speaking predominantly on Crips though. When a dude and another race come in, how the other race is gonna handle that. So, you know, with no further ado, I'm gonna be going back and forth. Shout out to Cam Capone News, you know what I'm saying? I got this from his channel. Y'all go check him out. They got stuff over there, you know, speaking on a whole lot of different stuff. But now, I want y'all to just check it out and listen to it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all check this out.
And, you know, when I've interviewed people that I've seen can kind of be a problem, like, is if a white dude, like, say he's a Crip or a Blood, and he walks on the yard, you know, the whites are going to try to get him. Not, you know, they're going to be like, are you riding over here? But if he's like, nah, I'm going with the Bloods and the Crips, and then if the Bloods and the Crips don't accept him, that it's a serious problem.
So I'll have to turn back the hands of time to 2008. Centinela State Prison. And again, 2008, things were normal in prison. It was a level 3 GP yard, level 3 general population, Bravo yard, which was active as, dude, it was active. Bro, looking back in hindsight, that yard was fucking active. The riots, the staff assaults, the dope, it was busy. I was new. And the officers, my partners tell me, hey, there's going to be a riot tomorrow. And I'm like, well, how do you know that? Because we just got a white crip. I'm like, okay, like, what does that mean? Like, well, it's a white crip. Like, the whites are going to go off. They're going to kick it off for the blacks. Tomorrow, we like, they already knew what time it was. And I'm like, oh, okay. Sure enough, dude, it was a white crip. But the Crips accepted him, right? He was a white crip. And they kicked it off. The whites and the blacks. But at that point in time, there was race riots. 100-man, 200-man riots. In 2014,
let's take on this real quick before we move on. Well, how did that riot, you know, end? Like, how bad was it?
Now he's an ex-correctional officer. You know what I'm saying? He's on there. He letting you know how it is. He's caught a lot of flack behind some of the stuff that he's telling the secrets that go on in the prison, how they set inmates up, how they do a whole lot of stuff. But like you said, even the officers, even the police knew that once this dude came in, that it was going to be a riot because he was from another race, but he was a Crip. And like I say, when that type of stuff happened, it's going to go down. And the police, they can't stop it. They can't really do nothing but just, say, get the guns ready, because that's what they do. It ain't like some of these other states, like in the South. I ain't never seen, the police get the guns in the gun tower and all that. They don't get down like that. It ain't like that. Not in Alabama, at least. But like in California prison, they can't do nothing but go ahead, line the walls up, line the gun towers up, go ahead and get the mini 14s and get ready, because it's going to go down. You can't stop it. It's going to happen. And once it does happen, boom, it's going to continue to kick back off. When they going to go lockdown and see, I'm in prison in Alabama, I've seen dudes whining about being locked down for 4-5 hours. 4-5 hours. And I used to tell them when I was locked up out here, I would tell myself, man, y'all, you wouldn't like being locked up in Cali prison, because you know what I'm saying, our lockdown started 2 weeks, race riot. Oh yeah, you get your 2-week quick lockdown like it ain't nothing. Then when you come off lockdown, you might not even make it off the tier, because it's gonna kick right back off, and you gonna go right back on lockdown, But anyway, shout out to Cam Capone News, y'all. Let's hear what the ex-correctional officer, what else he got to say,
End up leaving the yard.
No. Oh, did he end up leaving the yard? Maybe they got him off the yard. Maybe administration got him off the yard. right? They're not gonna. At that time, they were not gonna leave a problem in place. If they observe the problem, they're probably gonna remove the problem, and then he can go wherever he wants, and they can continue to riot. Think of it as a war. A war. In war, you have numerous battles, right?
Small battles.
Small battles. So if the whites kicked it off with the blacks, because you're always, for the most part, depending on how it kicks off, if it's planned, there's going to be one aggressor, right? The whites are going to sneak attack, or they're going to launch the attack. In that case, you would consider probably the blacks the victim, because it all depends on who got off first and who had the most numbers, right? That inflicted the most damage. So let's say the whites initiated the attack on the blacks. They're going to get their get back. The blacks will run it back. And this was common knowledge. The blacks will run it back. They're going to go on lockdown, then the whites will run it back. It would run back and forth probably like 2 or 3 times before the war was over. Before they both agreed, hey, we've had enough. It's over. That's how that looked.
Can you tell when the war is about to kick off? See people walk around with their boots on?
Let's say there's numerous ways a riot can kick off. Let's say I'm a black dude and there's a Mexican table, and I accidentally go over there and I just start stepping on accident. I fall over. A Mexican dude gets mad, hits the black, boom, it erupts. You see how that wasn't planned? It just kicked off. Now, because it kicked off, yeah, that's going to continue. But as opposed to like a real planned, thorough, that's going to last longer.
Now you see how the ex-officer said it's gonna keep kicking off. It makes, now they consider whoever attacked first as the aggressor. A lot of times whoever attacked first ain't always who gonna win that battle at that time. And whoever wins that battle at that time is not always necessarily who's gonna win the war. It goes back and forth. And but like you say, it's gonna continue to go back and forth until somebody, or 2 groups come to the table now and say, all right, well, cool. Now, like during my time in California Department of Corrections, it comes down to, are they gonna call? A lot of times the police will get the shot callers from each group and put them in the gym or put them in the chapel or put them in there and just let them talk and see if they could kill it. Now, if you remember in some of my other videos, I was never, ever a fan of that. Not, me saying, because to me, coming to the table, talking about, hey man, come on, let's call peace. To me, it's like you coming to the table from a position of weakness. I bump that, let it go down, let it happen. How eventually it's going to die because everybody who's going to be stabbing, going to go to lockup. Everybody gonna be fighting. They gonna go to lockup, and eventually it ain't gonna be nothing left on the yard except for the people who don't want no funk, and then just let it die like that. But here it is. If you the group, whether it's black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, if y'all the group that come to the table with the white flag, you come to the table to me from a position of we don't want no problems, we scared, or just no. And I used to get into it at that back then with my people a lot about wanting to call peace. Man, I just wasn't with it. Just let it play out, let it die out on its own, But it's going to continue to go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's just how California prison system was, man. At this point in time, and it's still like that. I said was, well, I'm going to say is. Let's hear some more about what the officer's saying.
I wanted to ask you a couple questions about the white crip situation. Is that the only situation that you've seen like that?
That I was involved in. That's happened more in other places. That is, at the time, that was common practice. If a white crip or white whatever touches down, the whites were going to get off. And the whites do not around, dude. Like, they make the best weapons in prison, by far. The best. Like, immaculate knives. So, like...
Machine shop.
Yeah, immaculate. But, yeah. But it's not. That white crip is viewed as one of them, dude. It's not even an issue. It's not even a question as if, is he a crip or not? He's definitely a fucking crip. And you ask him, he's definitely a crip. You tell him, hey, are you a crip? We're going to put you back out here? Yeah, I'm a crip. Put me back out there. They're like ride or die. All the way.
Okay. Yeah, and sometime I've heard you in some of your past interviews on Vlad TV and other outlets, Soft White Underbelly. You've described prison as like working in a zoo where all of the animals, the cages have been opened.
That's a fact. Because CDCR has an obligation to protect human lives and to include the inmates, right? Because the inmates are in the care of the state. They're in custodial care.
Okay.
And I say this because I've had an epiphany. I'm like, Hector, why are you so passionate about this whole thing, right? I'm like, because these inmates don't have a choice. They can't open the door and leave.
Yeah. Y'all heard like he was saying, dudes be ride or die. When them dudes come in on the yard and they be white Crips and Bloods, or they be Mexican Crips and Bloods, they be down, y'all. They be ride or die. You know what I'm saying? You actually, it's like he say, yeah, man, put me back on the yard. They not finna run. Now, have I seen some run the PC? Yeah, every now, yeah. But a lot of them, yeah, they down for what they down for. And the blacks are going to back them up 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. And he told the truth when he said that the whites make the best weapon. Man, look, bombs and weapons and spears. Some of the work that I seen, the white, they were real but they had that ingenuity. They made some of the best weapons I've seen in prison. And because I used to know how, well, I still do, make the prison bombs. And I learned from homies, but the style was based off how the whites was making theirs, and they make some real good weapons. That's how come when I got locked up in Alabama, it was a culture shock to me to see how the blacks and the whites interacted. You know what I'm saying? But Alabama prison system, it was like, when I first came into it, was like 75% black, 25% white. So, the blacks didn't really have what you might want to call a natural born enemy. They ran every prison because they were the majority. Now, like I say, they got the Aryan Nation in Alabama, and they got the Aryan Brotherhood, and they got the Southern SBs, Southern Brotherhood. But these cats, no, they wasn't like some of the white cats that I ran across in the California system. You know what I'm saying? In the California system, man, it's so racial, and it's based off pride. Like, you know what I'm saying? You ain't finna run over us. You ain't finna do this to us, blah, blah, blah. Every race feels that way. And so the level of aggression is off the chain. It's off the meat hook, man. That's what I told you in one of my past videos. My very, 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 very first day in prison in Alabama, not the county jail, but no, the prison that I was going to. My very first day, when I came out the cell, when they tried to put me in a cell with a white guy, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on now, you know what, huh? And when they like, yeah, man, boom, and I found out, oh, so this how it go in Alabama? I'm like, I throw my hands up. I'm like, well, all right, well, this how it go. Put my stuff in the cell. When I came out the cell, when I sat on the bench, I looked around, and the first thing I said out my mouth, I said, man, this place is a death trap. That's the first thing I said. I said, man, this place is a death trap. Wasn't nobody around me. Wasn't nobody on the bench or nothing. It was just me sitting on the bench. And I said, man, this place is a death trap. And the reason why I said that was based on the mentality that I had about California prison. And I was like, okay, if this place is anything like California prison, this place is a death trap. Yeah, but I soon found out it wasn't. It wasn't like Cali prison. It was a whole lot. It wasn't like Cali prison. Period. So this guy that's speaking, he's speaking on like 2008, 2000 on up into the 2020s, I guess. That's when he came about. So if it's like that then, imagine how it was in the 1980s when I was there. You know what I'm saying? The level of violence, I believe, was way different and way worse in the 1980s than what it is now. I could be wrong, but it was just different. Let's hear what this brother talking about some more.
Them to kill each other is where the problem lies.
You've also made some, man, that's dope perspective, man. You've also made some statements saying, you talk about the different races of inmates that are in there, or incarcerated individuals that are in there, and you said the black inmates are some of the most problematic. Explain to the viewers how. What makes it so problematic for blacks that are incarcerated in California?
So if there's a Mexican that gets out of line, before he gets out of line, there's a list of rules that his own people set out that he should not be violating. So those rules keep him in line. To my knowledge, dude, the blacks do not have a set written rules that they have to abide by.
Or at least they're not following them, if they do have them.
I don't think they have them.
Okay.
But they're definitely not following them. And one might be being drunk on the tier. You know, they make the homemade wine, Pruno.
Pruno, yeah.
They ferment the fruit. The Mexicans have a rule. If you're an inmate, you cannot be drunk out on the tier. You cannot be out in the public. The blacks don't have that rule. So if you encounter a black inmate under the influence of Pruno, that's going to turn into a problem.
So they're out there tripping.
Oh, dude, are they tripping? Yes.
You've also stated in some of those interviews that the Mexican inmates are some of the most violent, though.
The Mexicans and the whites.
Mexicans and the whites, okay.
Yeah.
What makes them so violent?
I think their ability to use weapons, their willingness to use weapons. And then you want to talk about numbers. So the two races that have the most population are the blacks and the Mexicans, right?
Now, y'all heard what he said about, guy asked him about the differences in level of violence with the different races. And he asked the officer, the ex-officer, who does he feel are the most violent? And he said the Mexicans and the whites. Now, a lot of people think, man, no, that he was going to say the blacks. Let me show you something. I did a video early last year, about how prison was during my time coming in and how it is from what my understanding of it coming on up till now. And in that video, I caught a lot of flack from my people because they felt like I was airing out our dirty laundry. In the dirty laundry that they felt I was airing out, I was saying about how when I came into the system, it was a certain type way, but as the years went by, how I noticed brothers was coming in there because they done set up in the county jail and heard war stories about, the Mexicans and different that. They was coming in like kind of shook a little bit. And so they was, my people kind of got mad at me, like, man, Tunya, you shouldn't have said, it ain't like, man. So, I went on, took the video down, didn't even speak on it no more. Cool, just to keep the peace. But now, here it is, this officer, from his mouth, one thing, and he said, and what he's saying is, he's saying because of the propensity for the Mexicans and the whites to pick up knives quicker than the blacks, that's how come he said it was more violence. And, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Blacks, we going to come, from here, they're going to get down. They're going to get down fast. They quick to fight. Boom, 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 boom. Blacks quick to fight. Whereas the whites and the Mexicans, they're going to use a weapon. And that started years ago because of the size and the skill differences. You know what I'm saying? The average brother going in a head-up fight back, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to put it out there. The average brother in a head-up fight, he going to whoop a white dude or a Mexican from the shoulders in a head-up fight. You know what I'm saying? And like one brother, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't no problem for him to take on two dudes from a different race. Boom. They got sick of that. They like, man, you know what? These dudes born with cuts. These dudes born with muscles. These dudes born with that. You know what I'm saying? Coming up fighting and all this and that. Probably can't whoop them from the shoulder. So we're gonna put this iron on them. And that's what they did. And for some reason, I've been in prison when I was in Cali prison with some brothers, man, that was with that gunplay. You know, when I say gunplay, with that iron play. They was with, you know what, they was with it. But I also was in there with a lot of brothers that didn't want to pick that iron up. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I have tried to give knives to dudes to like, hey man, this we finna do this, and they, man, no, man, man, I'm cool. I don't need no knife. I'ma fight. No, man, you know, boom. So with the Mexicans and the whites, it wasn't like that. When you give them that knife, they're going to use that knife. Period. Fighting is not the first thing on their mind. Stabbing you is the first thing on their mind. Whereas with the blacks, the first thing on their mind is throwing hands. So of course, that made the level of violence a little bit different. Like I say, you know, you had brothers in there that would stab you and do all that too. But for some reason, brothers wasn't quick to pick that knife up like that. Let's see what else he's saying.
The Mexicans use weapons per their gang politics, it's just since the beginning of time, and so do the whites. That's not to say that the blacks do not use weapons, but in my experience from where I've been, those fights look like 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, fist fights.
Okay.
As opposed to, I'm going to send two Mexicans with knives to brutally this dude up bad, where we're going to hurt or kill him.
We were talking a little bit earlier about like the phones, the drugs, contraband, how much of a huge issue that is. How do you think they're actually getting inside the prisons?
Various ways.
All right, give me the ways they're getting in there.
Dope, female visitors, right? They secrete it in their cavities. Dope, drones in 2025.
Drones?
Drone drops in 2022, 2021. A drone, bro. A drone.
Man, who's brave enough to do that, man?
It's not that hard. If you pay a tweaker from the streets, from like El Cajon, hey, dude, we'll give you $100. You fucking fly this drone, drop this package, and we'll give you this much money and a fake cell phone or a burner, right? Like, what they do, dude, is they'll drop a football full of dope, cell phones, or staff members. Staff members do, right, and I'm not going to say all of them or some of them, they've been known to introduce contraband into an institution.
All right.
I've known of it, female officers that have sexual relationship with inmates.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. I've known of it personally of at least 5.
I think there was one I saw, it was a young female, and I guess she got walked off the yard. And later on, she might have done some prison time. She ended up marrying the dude once he got out.
100%, dude. I went to the academy with one. I went to the academy with a female friend that I knew since kindergarten who was a CO, smashing an inmate, got fired, married the inmate, and ended up on the visitors list.
So yeah, y'all was hearing what he was saying. But now, in some of my past videos, y'all heard how I speak on security. The security, like in Alabama prison, is way looser than it is in the California prison. Man, it's hard. The security was a lot tighter. But drugs and stuff still would come in. Now, during my time, wasn't no such thing as drones and all this and that. You know, in the 80s, wasn't nobody using no drones. It was, you know, basically specifically, you know, like he said, you know, through the visiting yard or through the police doing whatever they was doing. It's so serious in a in a California prison is so serious that a lot of the stuff that we did back then in the 80s and stuff, in this day and age in other states, they man, what? For instance, like keistering knives, keistering your dope, keistering your money. Now, a lot of people like Tune, you know, I'm just saying Tune because that's, y'all still call me that. But they're gonna be like, man, what is keistering? What? And so I'm just gonna go all the way into the belly of the beast with this thing for you. Keistering is when you take your knife and you put it in your behind. When you take your dope, you put it in your behind to get it off the visiting yard or whatever. Say like back then, leaving the county jail, you had a gang of money and you want to get your money in on the yard, you had to keister it. You had to put it in your behind. Whereas now, I used to tell stories to dudes when I was in Alabama prison about this, and they were like, man, what? First thing man, that's gay. They don't understand. They do not understand. A lot of people in different places have never been put in a position where the only way you can get your knife on the yard is if you put it in your behind. Stop, drop, and squat. Bang, come up. You got that knife in your hand. And that knife is probably the only thing that saved your life that day when that ride kicked off, you know? You had to get that knife through the metal detector. You know, you get patted down or whatever. You had to get it through there. Now, nowadays, the security is so tight that you got to go, you know, you go through machines that x-ray you right there on the spot. So, it's probably a lot harder now. Speaking on the 80s. So, you know, it's a lot of dudes that like when I talked about this before, like a lot of stuff, man, you don't know what you, man. Hey, listen, man, if you come into prison in the late 90s and in the 2000s and all that, I don't even want to hear it because you don't even know what I'm talking about. If you ain't got a C number or a early like D1, 2, or 3 number, something like that, shut up talking to me, man. You ain't know what you're talking about. You wasn't there to live it. You wasn't there to experience, you know? But anyway, it get detrimental, man. It's so many different ways that stuff can happen. And like he spoke on, you know, a lot of dudes, you know, they got that playerism in them. They looking to knock a female officer off. When I say knock them off, you know, they want to get in their ear. That's why a lot of police was haters. They would tell them females coming through the academy, do not talk to them inmates one-on-one like that, you know, for no long period of time. Because a dude got game, man, he put some in their ear that them lames on the street ain't putting in their ear, you know? And a lot of them women, they would fall susceptible to what dudes was talking about. And like he say, you know, next thing you know, they doing what it do. They doing what it do, man. It's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast, you know? So anyway, let's hear a little bit more of what old boy talking about.
You got a young guy going into jail right now. Some guy that's going into jail, and you know, he was this badass on the street. And he's all of this. Tell him what he can expect when he goes to jail.
Off the top, he's not going to be the most badass in the jail. Off the top, I don't care how he feels about it, right? Because the jail operates in its own beast and its own monster. I mean, more so prison. What you can expect is to fall in line or get put in line, right? I'm not necessarily saying by the COs, because that line has not really been pushed like it used to. I'm saying by your own people, by the inmates. And then you will have to navigate the monster and navigate the beast of being put in a bad, dangerous predicament by the administration. Then you're going to have to start making some life choices. Do I need to make a knife? If I get caught with a knife, how much time am I going to get? Right? You're going to start, am I still in my head? Do I still think I'm a big badass? Do I still think I'm part of this game? If I think I'm part of this game, I better ride with this gang all the way. Are they willing to ride for me all the way? Then you start seeing the deception, right? And the politicking and the misloyalty. Because not everybody's loyal, bro. I don't give a f- if you're a prison guard, an inmate, a gang member, or a soldier. There's a lot of disloyal.
Now you hear what he was saying about, dudes coming in thinking they tough, thinking they run something, thinking they big and bad. I don't know about other states, but now in the California prison system, you being big don't mean nothing. I don't care if you was 7 feet tall, 900 pounds. That don't mean nothing in the California prison system. You gonna do what you told. As we used to say, you gonna mind somebody. You gonna mind somebody. You not coming in there running nothing. You not coming in there telling nobody what to do. No, none of that. You just coming in, you gonna come in and you gonna be told what to do. You gonna fall in line. If you don't want to fall in line, they gonna put you in line. You understand what I'm saying? It's a machine. When they say the machine in motion, they mean that it's a machine, man. It's coordinated. It got to run smoothly. It's a chain of command. Whereas like I would see when I was in the Alabama prison, mostly just everybody was running around doing whatever they want to do. That was one of the reasons why when I came to the Alabama system, I had started what was called COD. And I told y'all about that before. Before it was COD, it was the Blue Note. But I couldn't bring Blue Note to the Alabama system, so I had to change the name. And it went up under the guise of COD. Tried to bring the rules, tried to bring structure. It was cool for a minute, but the bigger it got, the more wilder it got. The more uncontained it got. It got so wild and uncontrollable till I had to back up. I'm like, hey, you know what, man? As I told you, in the end, I adopted the motto, let the dead bury the dead. And what I was saying was, if you wasn't getting down how I got down, I didn't pay no attention to you or none of that. Stay away from me, I'm gonna stay away from you, And so, but now, and it was a shock to me because I wasn't used to that. I was used to the uniformity, the structure, the loyalty, the unity that you would run across in the California system. And one of the things I know, like that was different with the Alabama system, the unity and the loyalty was almost non-existent, man. Your own people would turn on you for a cup of soup and a pack of cookies. You know who to trust sometimes, But whereas in the California system, hey man, you're gonna follow the structured rules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're not gonna follow them 5, 3, 1, 4 or whatever, I've always been a big dude. Here it is, 6'2", 6'3", 300 some pounds, and I'm being told what to do by a dude that ain't nothing but 5'9", 190 pounds. Didn't have a problem with it though, because if he was able to tell me what to do, that means he was in a position to tell me what to do. And you're gonna follow your orders, you're gonna follow a chain of command or be dealt with. It is what it is, it was what it was gonna always be what it was gonna be, And listen, matter of fact, he finna go into this thing about loyalty. Because no matter, I don't care what state you're in, even in Cali, everybody wasn't gonna be loyal. The level of loyalty, it differs from state to state. But even in Cali, it was times where, you had disloyalty and dudes just, doing stuff that they ain't got no business doing. It's just human nature, in a lot of people. Everybody is not cut from the same cloth. Let's hear what he was speaking on that.
Misloyalty, because not everybody's loyal, bro. I don't give a if you're a prison guard, an inmate, a gang member, or a soldier. There's a lot of disloyal out here in this world.
Yeah, I think loyalty is dead in general.
Oh, it's not dead because me and you.
That's true. But what I mean is, on a whole, that's just indicative of our age group too. We're a little bit, but the younger dudes, man, there's no loyalty.
But I'm trying to hold on to loyalty, man. Like I'm trying to hold on, and this is YouTube, so we're preserving history. We're saying like, hey, it's possible to be loyal, dude, to your brother.
This is true.
You know what I mean? And those are the men that taught me from the Army. Edgar Dacklin. He gave his life for us.
Man, that's...
You know, all the lessons I learned in life, bro, I learned the hard way.
See how he said all the lessons he learned in life, he had to learn the hard way. And that's what a lot of us, man. A lot of us, we got the lessons that we learn in life. Sometimes we got to learn them the hard way. I know a lot, I ain't gonna say all the lessons I had to learn the hard way, but I will say a lot of the lessons that really, really stuck to me, that really meant something to me, I had to learn the hard way. You know, it took me spending almost 40 years of my life behind bars for me to learn certain lessons. It took for me to see certain stuff in the streets, in you know what I'm saying, in the turf from different dudes to learn certain lessons that everybody ain't for you, even if y'all got the same tattoos. You know what I'm saying? Even if y'all stomp the same streets. It don't mean they always for you, man. So, you know, that thing about loyalty and learning hard lessons, I had to learn the hard way, man. Ooh, I had to learn the hard way on a lot of stuff. But anyway, he gave up a lot of game, you know what I'm saying? Instead of it coming from, you know, an inmate or a convict's point of view, y'all got it from a correctional officer's point of view, you know? And this video here, I hope a lot of you youngsters that see it, if it's a lesson in it for you to learn, if it's something in there that was said that can say, you know what, man, I'm gonna leave that prison stuff alone, man. I'm gonna stop doing this. I'm gonna stop doing that, cause I ain't got time to be going in there going through all of that. As I've been saying, just stop doing it, man. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. Look to God. For some people, it's hard to just stop living that life, living that street life cold turkey. Some people need a little help. I needed a little help. And it's different various stuff that can help you, you know. But for me, I'm going to say always, man, give your life to God. Turn to Jesus. Pray about it. It don't mean you scary. It don't mean you no punk. It don't mean none of that. It means you have elevated, man. It means you have took yourself mentally, spiritually, and believe it or not, physically, to a whole nother level. Hey, man, I'm going to leave it right there for y'all. Tell the people that you love them, man. And remember, somebody was trying to call me. But remember, man, I'm your partner, Big Tony, man, and I represent Jesus Christ. Let me get some of y'all to represent him with me, y'all. I'm out. Peace.